A teaching method, reading approach. The reading approach, therefore, the first is types of teaching and learning activities. The second, kinds of instructional experiences and materials. The third, advantage of reading approach. And the last is disadvantage of reading approach. The types of teaching and learning activities. The first is skimming. It is an activity to read shorter text to extract accurate, detailed information. Skimming is used to quickly identify the main ideas of a text. Skimming is done at a speed 3 to 4 times faster than normal reading. People often skim when they have lots of material to read in a limited amount of time, and there are many strategies that can be used when skimming. The second is scanning. It's a quickly reading a text to get the gist of it. Scanning is a technique that often used when looking up a word in the telephone book or dictionary. The students search for keywords and ideas. Scanning involves moving eyes quickly down the page seeking specific words and phrases. Scanning is also used when the reader first finds sources to determine whether it will answer the questions. Once you have scanned the document, you might go back and skim it. The third is extensive reading. Extensive reading is a reading longer text, usually for pleasure. Extensive reading is an approach to language learning, including foreign language learning, by the means of a large amount of reading. The student's view and review of unknown words in specific contexts will allow the student to infer the word's meaning and thus to learn unknown words. While the mechanism is commonly accepted as true, its importance in language learning is disputed. And next is intensive reading. It's a quickly going through the text to find a particular piece of information. It is essentially reading in depth and is usually done in the class with each pupil having the same text. Intensive reading involves students reading in detail with specific learning aims and tasks. It can be compared with extensive reading, which involves student reading text for enjoyment and to develop general reading skills. Then there are kinds of instructional experiences and materials. Reading aloud by the teacher is an important component of the struggling reader's literacy program. Teacher is the model in reading process and students listen and respond to the teacher. Teacher should select stories, poems, and informational text to read aloud that help expand and strengthen the background knowledge of their students.
It helps the speaker lead his audience into the scene he describes.
After that, shared reading. Teacher leads and students participate. This is extremely valuable for the child who is having trouble figuring out what reading is all about. And the teacher reads a text while the student observes and follows along silently. This method helps build reading fluency and comprehension. The third one is word study. Teacher leads and students participate. Word study fosters recognition of the individual sounds of words and an understanding of the alphabetic principle and its application to reading and spelling. Activities involve phonemic awareness, phonics, structural analysis, and the development of sight vocabulary. After that, their guided reading involves teachers
So then,
structuring learning situations in which children work in small groups on material that is mostly challenging to them. Teacher monitors for application of strategies and the students with the assistance of an instructor as it is needed. When an unfamiliar word appears, the instructor either tells the student the word or assists the student in decoding the word. During the story, the teacher stops at certain points and questions the student in order to determine or guide comprehension. This helps build practice in comprehension, decoding, sight word vocabulary, and oral reading. And the last one, there is independent reading. Independent reading is as important for low achieving children as for any others. Independent reading is what struggling readers most need to practice. Struggling readers should be encouraged to select books that match their interests and reading abilities. Teachers can assist them in finding appropriate books by giving them tips on how to select books on their own, and teacher monitors for time on tests. Advantage of reading approach. The first is a reading approach can be used in a big class. The second, in reading approach, students can know much vocabulary because they have to read the passage. The third, the reading method requires little teaching still since the lesson form is standardized and fixed procedure. The reading method is economical of time since the pupils all read simultaneously, and that the last one is students focus what they are studying because they only learn grammar. After that, of course, there is disadvantage of reading approach. This is only two, and first is since reading approach is only focused on written skill, this approach is like in speaking skill. And for the second is a reading approach is an oppressive approach because the vocabulary and grammar are controlled. And of course, that's from me. I'm Irma, and thank you for watching. We know that it's important to know how to read effectively by using reading approach this. And goodbye.